Welcome to Blake Street Banter, where one of us knows what the word banter means. The other one is literally all up in banter world. What up, Noah?
Hey, how's it going? I'm happy to talk some Rockies on this fine Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, it might actually feel good to talk about it instead of write about it. Like
Yeah,
just switch it up a little bit.
this past week has kind of been a whirlwind, but the first week at Coors Field for me, the Rockies treated me to some good baseball. Went 4-2, and been writing about it. But now, yeah, we get to talk about it, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it was a good week for just everybody involved. But I mean, let the people hear it. Like your first kind of week on the internship, so to speak. It's kind of weird saying that we have an intern and all that. It's just like, Noah's covering BSB as a full-time reporter at home games in the months of May to September. But like, how's the beat, so to speak? Kind of, what are some of your biggest takeaways as your first time on the job?
Yeah, it's awesome. And first and foremost, I just think it's been so awesome because the people around me have been so kind and they've been amazing. I appreciate it, Brian. Everyone from the parking people to stadium security to the Rockies communications to the people up in the press box with me, my colleagues. It's weird to say that. Everyone has been so willing to help, and the players have been awesome to talk to. They're super kind. That's been the number one takeaway. But just being at the ballpark each day, I try to show up pretty early, as early as I can on most days, but just about 4 hours early. And by getting there then, I'm able to listen to Bud Black talk before the game and watch the players' routines has really been the most interesting part. And when you're there that early, you see the infielders get work on certain days, but then you'll see on other days specific players are the last ones to stay out there. Nolan Jones, he's been the last one to stay out there for several days, and then today he's beginning his rehab assignment in Albuquerque. I appreciate you, Grant. But yeah, just being at the ballpark's awesome. You get to watch the game with a beautiful view. I talked to the people that have been in the media for a long time, and they said that Coors Field has one of the better press box viewing setups. It's just about a section up behind home plate. And after the game, we get to go down, listen to Bud Black. Hopefully next week I'm able to talk to the players and bring even more coverage to Blake Street Banter and more in-depth analysis and just get to hear right from the sources what they think and they describe what happened in the games. But yeah, it's been a dream come true. It really has.
All right, so 2 follow-up questions out of that. So who has like the most unique kind of routine that you've seen in that first week?
I think the one that, and I'll say B-Rod just because it's the first that popped into my head, and it's not even anything extraordinarily baseball based, but every day when I get to the stadium, he's out there barefoot with a soccer ball, like just to start the day, which I think is pretty cool because you wouldn't expect that. But most of the time, the guy that's been the last one on the field, besides Nolan, who's working with the trainers out in the outfield, Nolan Jones working on that knee, has been Ezekiel Tovar. He takes ground balls and practices those long throws from short, and that's why he has the highest fielding percentage in his first first year, 996. I think I saw, and he's been amazing.
Yeah, some are saying he's better than Ellie Cruz, but I think the stats are saying that for him. But that's a different conversation. Maybe that's a conversation with Patrick Lyons in his new podcast. Who would you rather? And then the next question is who's like the one guy like when you get into the clubhouse that you're gonna kind of like geek out about, fanboy about, like, I'm right here next to this guy in the clubhouse. Like, that's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, so the first guy that you'd think of is Charlie Blackmon, and I've heard that he has a long lift post-game routine that the other media really don't get to see him that often in the post games. So we'll see. But a week ago, I would have said Nolan Jones just because that's my guy. But I got to meet him. I got to talk to him. Super cool guy, super nice. Now that Nolan's checked off, it's got to be Rymack. I mean, the dude's a stud, and he's having absolutely an all-star year. So he'll be really, really cool to see.
Yeah, that would be fun. If you do talk to him and if you feel comfortable, ask him if he's ever shared a plate of Dino Nuggets with Shelby Lackey.
Okay, I gotta remember that. Let me bookmark this time and then come
Trust
back.
me, yeah, trust me that's a thing. We had a few conversations with Shelby Lackey. He's now in the independent ball playing for the Dock Hounds up in Wisconsin, but I think they're like cousins or there's some kind of family connection there. And Ryan Mack and Shelby go way back. So Shelby
All
Lackey
right.
is
I will ask him that, and I'm marking this down.
so if you need a way to break the ice, so to speak. But that's awesome. Like, I'm super stoked for you. Like, that's cool. I get to kind of do that for just one night in about a week. I'm kind of excited for it.
Yeah, it's
um
coming up.
yeah, St. Louis Cardinals thing. So don't know what I'm going to do with that. Don't know what I'm going to turn into. I like, you do great with the recaps and the quotes and stuff, and obviously I'll do some of that, but what can I do with that one piece, one time thing? It'll be interesting. So different perspectives from BSB. Like, we always try to do things a little bit differently, do it our own kind of organic way, because we have no idea what we're doing, and we have that luxury to kind of go into everything blind and have some fun with it. So cool stuff. I'm super stoked for you, and keep doing your thing. So, but let's talk Rockies. So Rockies had a 6-game homestand, and 4-2 took the series from what NL East leading Phillies, Bryce Harper and his clown organization can get out in town, and then the Cleveland Guardians, who are leading the AL Central, and they just beat both of them. I actually like Bryce Harper. I saw a video the other day of him trading a hat with the kid. Like, hey, I want that hat, and so he traded his game hat with that kid's hat, and it was like, all right, you're intense on the field and you kind of get it and all that. So I appreciate you, Bryce Harper. I do. But besides the fact, the Rockies are playing well. Like, it's just been fun to watch, and it's not like we're not getting mad, depressed, or like angry. It's like, all right, they are actually staying in this and they can hold on to this, and like, all right, let's ride.
Exactly. And this team was 8-28. Okay, and now they're 20-35. That's not a record you'll ever brag about, but they were 8-28 to start the year. They could have just mailed it in, right? It's very easy. It's difficult to show up to the ballpark when you're in a rut like that. But the reason this team has turned it around has absolutely been the starting pitching. We talked about it last week about the quality starts and the role that the team was on. This week, in the 6 games that they were at home, they got 4 quality starts out of those 6 games, and one of them was a bullpen game. So really, there was only 5 opportunities to get quality starts. But in their 30 innings, they had a 3.90 ERA. That is fantastic. You'll take that every time in 6 games at Coors Field. And the bullpen, it continues to be a trouble spot. This past week, they had a 6.92 ERA. But last week we talked about it, and they basically had a walk an inning. I think it was 28 walks in 32 innings. This week, they had 11 walks in 26 innings. So that is a big improvement from what was. They're getting the ball back in the strike zone, and that will pay dividends on the long run. But eventually, you'd like to see the ERA come down from the bullpen. But the starting pitching has been doing its job to keep the Rockies in these games, and they've been able to come out on top in several of them.
I'm really curious, like, because I mean, when you get 4 quality starts out of 6, well, 5, like you said, at Coors, I don't remember a streak like that. We've ever had a streak like that. Then I also love the fact that starters have more innings pitched in those 6 games than the bullpen. I don't know the last time we saw that.
And I mean, think about this. This is with the bullpen day.
Right.
This is with 9 innings of bullpen too. The starters have been dealing, and so, and to talk about the streak, up until the bullpen day, the Rockies had 6 consecutive quality starts.
That's insane.
Which was the longest streak since they had 8. And it was the end of May to June, or the end of June to July in 2021. So it's been a while, and they really just kept it going. Even after the streak was broken, you had Ty Blott come out and pitch 7 innings last night and lead the Rockies to a win. It was great.
And the big one about that one, like, I was like, oh god, 2 innings in the first inning, 2 runs in the first inning. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. So I actually went and watched the Yard Goats, which I'm happy I did, because they ended up walking it off, and that was sweet by Warby Birdie Bell. And then I came back, it's like, oh, it's still just a 2 runs for the Rockies, for the Guardians there. And it's like, all right, so Ty Block, that grizzled vet, like, I really wonder where it trickles down from. I was listening to the boys over P. Lyons and Evan Lang on Lang's podcast, the Affected by Altitude podcast. And they're talking about Cal Quantrill and how he's got that dog mentality, no excuses, that really old mindset, old grinder mindset. Like, no, I'm going to go out and do what I can. If I can't figure it out, I'm going to do a different way. Kind of like what Kyle Freeland brings to the table. But obviously that's being missed. So like that's still getting filled in, and like you just are handing the ball to the next guy, and that has to be a sense of pride. Like we talked a little bit about last week about the bullpen. Like there's a sense of pride. Like that's your group, that's your guys. Those are you're going out and doing that together. It kind of feels like there's that just a vibe from watching it from the starters. Like Ty Block didn't have his best stuff, but he ended up finding a way to get through 7 after allowing 30 pitches, 2 runs in the first inning.
Yeah. And what Bud Black will attribute it to every time, and he's repeated this, and I've picked up on it just in my 1 week here. He wants his starters to pitch with the fastball. And even though, I mean, you talked about it, Ty Block doesn't throw above 91 on the fastball. Bud Black said that he was happy with the fastball. He paced the offense with the fastball, and he was able to get the changeup down in the zone, and everything that Buddy wants to see from his pitching staff has been clicking. And I think it's definitely a momentum thing where the guys see everyone around them is having all this success, and they always want to have individual success, but I think it just adds and snowballs when the guys around you start to, I mean, they say hitting's contagious, so pitching has to be contagious, and hopefully eventually the bullpen will catch the bug and start pitching like the starters. But
and I mean, we talked a little bit about that last week. I think that bug, why? Okay, maybe this is the time Aaron gets to rant. Why is Victor Vodnik going in to a game down 6 runs when he's obviously one of the guys that you call on in tight positions, tight spots, or up 6 runs or whatever it was? Like that overusage, that weird usage there still blows my mind. Like Victor Vodnik is one of those 3 guys that you're relying on heavily. There is absolutely no reason you need to put him into a 6-run game, either good or bad at all. Like we're just eating up arms. Like we see Justin Lawrence, he's on the IL now. He pitched 69 innings last year, like more usage than he's ever seen. Is that some of that wear tear coming in now, and like he just needs this time on the IL, or is there something more serious with it? And like I get worried. That's all right. We did that with Bard. We did that with Kinley. We did that with Lawrence. Is VV next on that list? And like we're running through the AAA relievers, 40-man. You get a 40-man. We all get 40-man pieces. Which I get. It's the way the game works and all that, but like Victor Vodnik shouldn't be that guy. John Curtis or Michael Cook or Matt Cook should be that guy. I don't know. That frustrates me a little bit.
And that was a discussion point in the press box when that happened. Everyone was kind of confused why Vodnik came in there, and the Rockies did not come back and win that game. So it was interesting, and I'm sure if nobody asked Buddy about it, but he probably would have said it had just been however many days since he was in, wanted to get him some work. But I mean, yeah. And I don't want to take away from, I mean, you mentioned beating the Phillies, who lead the NL East. They're on top of the whole National League. Like they are the 1 seed in all of MLB. Actually, they have the best record. And the Guardians came to Coors Field on a 9-game winning streak, and they entered that series the number 1 seed in a seed. I don't know if that applies to baseball, but in the AL, like they were not only atop of their division, they were atop of their respective leagues.
The whole thing.
So what the Rockies have been able to do, if they go into Los Angeles and win a series there, the we're back train will be
chugging.
Yeah.
It's hold on. We got some. So do the Rockies sweep the Dodgers? Matt Hugh Davis wants to know.
I mean, look, the Saturday and Sunday games, we have Quantrill and Gomber, and more on Gomber later. But those two have been as lights out of a 1-2 punch there has been across baseball. And I mean, Dakota tomorrow, last time out, he had a quality start. So why not? And tomorrow, you like thumbs up?
Oh, you can do that. I don't know if I have that, but nice.
I don't know. But they're playing against Walker Buehler tomorrow, which has always been a tough matchup for the Rockies, but I think the Rockies have to be a little bit motivated by what they've seen from their lineup, despite it not exploding. And we'll switch down to talk about some of the slump busters here. On this homestand, B-Rod homered for the first time since April 23rd, which broke a streak of 29 games since his last homer. KB went deep, and he went deep, deep. That thing was about 3
That
rows
was
from the
so much fun to
concourse.
see.
And the Bryant homer was, it only said it went 420 something feet, but it was really close to the concourse. That was his first homer since the Rockies' first home series of the year against Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Monty homered first time since April 30th in Miami, I think. And then Charlie Blackmon, he went deep, first time in 113 at bats. So the lineup, and another thing on Montero, and the Rockies press and Bud both talked about this. He's been hitting so many balls on a line, and KB hit 2 to the warning track, then went deep. Montero went deep, and then yesterday he might have taken an offer, but he had 2 to the wall. So there is juice in the lineup right now, and confidence is a massive thing when you're hitting at the major league level.
It really is. And like seeing Monty crush that fastball, because he was looking silly the plate appearance before on the off speed, and then he just gets that fastball right where he wanted it and just annihilates it. Like that ball was out in a hurry. Like it's good seeing that. You've been probably the biggest proponent about Monty getting just bad luck. Like he's hitting the ball hard, right? Like it's there. And I mean, this is a whole nother thing too. But like
and that might be about KB. KB went deep, and then yesterday wasn't in the lineup, and people said it was just for an extra off day, but got to keep him healthy, right?
Right. Like he's easing back into it and don't want to push it. And Buddy he's kind of doing that dance with Hunter Goodman though too. Like it feels like Hunter Goodman's coming up in big time spots and having good hits, and yet he's not in the lineup the next day. And there's still some frustrating things. Like they're playing well, so let's try to keep this positive. But there's some weird head scratchers, so to speak, that are happening. But it's just kind of, that's always been the thing that Buddy does, and so it's weird, but it's not really. It's kind of what you expect. So I mean, it's good to see. I mean, and the Dodgers aren't playing very well, right? Like, I'll look up. I know Walker Buehler's he's 19 innings pitched in his 4 starts. The Dodgers were on a 5-game skid at one point last week. I don't know if they still are now.
No, so they were on a 5-game losing streak, and despite that 5-game streak, they're 17-9 in May, which is still second best in the NL. Isn't that insane?
Yeah,
isn't that insane?
Yeah, I'm looking at this now. Well, they swept the Braves at the beginning, swept the Marlins easy, lost 2 to the Padres,
swept by the Reds,
beat the Giants 2-1. Yeah, then swept by the Reds in their 5-game losing streak, and then the Mets are the worst team in baseball, worst teammate in baseball. If you were watching Jorge's stuff yesterday, so I mean, they're beatable. All right, they're not the great Dodgers that we know. Mookie's struggling, Freeman's struggling. Ohtani has less multiple hit games than Brendan Rodgers, so that's the thing that we have to be aware of. So, like, the Dodgers aren't good. Walker Buehler's on a rough rehab. Like, he's coming back slowly. There's no reason the Rockies can't at least win 1. Like, I know, being realistic. Like, but they could easily take 2 or 3. Like you said, with those quality starts that are going through it.
Yeah, and how many times have the Rockies gone to Dodger Stadium and taken 2 out of 3? I don't know how many times that's happened, and so if you're able to do that, you've already beaten the best team in both the AL and the NL back to back. The confidence for this group has to be really, really, really high. You take away the 2 losses in Oakland were brutal ones.
Brutal.
You take away those, you have a 5-4 or a 6-3 9-game road trip with the only losses you got swept by the Giants. Then you come back home and you do this. Buddy talked about how he's proud of the guys for being so resilient, not letting the loss the previous day dictate the results the next day. And I think that's been, in both the Phillies and Cleveland series, they won game 1, lost game 2, and they hadn't won a rubber match the whole year. They were 0-6, but now they've won back-to-back rubber matches. So they're figuring stuff out. And, the Rockies they're a team that baseball is all about playing a team, catching a team at the right time, catching a team at the wrong time. So the Dodgers playing the Rockies now is a whole lot different than playing the Rockies, even 20 days ago.
Yep.
So
every series is going to be different. Every series is going to look different. There's always going to be somebody that steps up to the plate. It's wild. So like Ezekiel Tovar, like he was hot this week, and this is where it kind of gets like realistic and where you kind of get worried about it. But Ezekiel Tovar last week, 26 at bats, 890 OPS, 2 RBIs, 2 doubles, 10 hits. Like he was all over the place, all over. But he also had 12 strikeouts in that time.
Yep.
2 times plus as much as the next guy on the Rockies team to strike out that much. So like there's going to be a little bit of this and that are going to happen. Like with these young guys, there's going to be some hot flows. There's going to be some cold streaks. It's going to happen, but there's absolutely no reason that we can't think that they can go in and just beat these guys and go do cool stuff. Like there's no reason for it. Like you got Jacob Stallings, like who?
Yeah.
Like he's actually like it's allowing there to be conversation about trading one of the catchers, Elias or Jake Stallings, to bring up Romo, and the other guy is just kind of Romo's backup or Romo's sidekick for the next 3 months until the end of the season. Like great signing, and he came in clutch. He's the one that beat the Phillies, has allowed that to happen against the Phillies bullpen that was number 1 in the whole division or whole league. So like you have these guys that are stepping up, which is just good ball team, good club stuff. Like maybe this is what it is. Like Bud Black is managing the clubhouse and like everybody's feeding off each other. The vibes are good. And like that stuff seeps through. It is a whole different team than it was in April.
Yes. And I think, yes, I agree with everything you said. And just putting this past homestand a little bit more under the mic, like an eyeglass. You talked about Jacob Stallings, 4 for 9 on the homestand. Charlie Blackmon went 6 for 15. That's good for 400 average. Tovar, 385 average, and he struck out 12 times. His bat to ball skills are unreal. I mean, he's swinging more than anyone in the league, I think. And so for him to still, his average on the season, I think, is still around 280, which is extraordinarily impressive because the pitchers are up there thinking I can throw anything.
Yeah.
But B-Rod, he's got it going a little bit. He hit 292 on the homestand, had his first homer in a long time. That could get you going. Hunter Goodman chipped in where he could, 4 for 14 in his 4 games, 286, and 2 of those hits were extra base hits. The Rockies went 4-2 on that homestand with Ryan McMahon only hitting 167. We all know how hot Elias Diaz has been, and he only hit 150 on that homestand. And KB, he hit 211 on that homestand. And if you were to talk about Rockies that might be an all-star, it's probably between McMahon and Diaz right now. And for them to not have a great homestand by any stretch, and for them to come out on top of 2 of the best teams in the sport, it speaks volumes to all of a sudden you have depth where you're not relying on your leadoff through your cleanup and then hoping for the rest of the lineup. Now you kind of rallies can start at the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah. You can actually extend it and go through the lineup a few times. Like there was one inning, we had 7-run second inning. What last night? Was that last night?
6-run second inning. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you're going through the lineup and you're getting production from all these people at any time. And
it started with Montero.
And that's huge. That's key. Like you need somebody to step up and like finding when to lean on and where you just like, all right, I messed that up, but I can get the next guy's got me and we're going to figure it out. That's just a good sign of a good team. That's a good clubhouse. That might be the buddy effect that maybe I have been a little bit too hard on him about, but like he's obviously there for a good reason. So I'm going to give some props there to Buddy for kind of figuring out all of that and kind of going with that.
Yeah, he's been there for the guys, and you see a lot of teams with bad records in a rebuild. Almost always the manager is the first to get fired because there has to be a fall man.
Yeah,
and an owner's not going to disown himself. You know what I mean? Like
right.
So Buddy has done an amazing job with the cards that he's been dealt. He's killing it, and as they look ahead, the Rockies, they're going to try to keep this momentum rolling. We talked about They're heading to LA for 3 games. And then it's a really weird and rare schedule kind of
Yeah,
thing. They're on the road for just 3 games, which I think is good when you play the Dodgers because regardless of if you win a series in LA, if you have to go to San Diego and San Francisco after that,
right
you're
after.
already kind of drained. So they're gonna go. They're gonna play the Dodgers for 3 days. Then they'll come back to Coors Field and take on Cincinnati beginning Monday, I think. So Cincinnati's a team that you want to play right now because they're 8-18 in May, which is the second worst in the NL. So the Rockies playing the team that's been second best in the May and the second worst in the month of May. So
Watch us sweep the Dodgers and get swept by the Reds.
well, yeah, the most mind-blowing stat is the Rockies, I think, are now, I'm trying to remember. The other day it was 12-9 against teams with winning records. That's now improved. And 7-25 against teams under 500. Like that's
Rockies are
mind-boggling.
gonna Rocky.
That's mind-boggling.
Like, is that just like, yeah, you're playing up to your competition, so to speak? Like, all right, we got to bring up the big dogs. We got to step up a little bit and like got to go prove ourselves, kind of that underdog mentality. And then
They've been
that's wild.
in the press box. They've kind of talked about how they've been like Fogger was back when he was the Dragon Slayer
Mm-hmm.
in '07, which I think is funny. But yeah,
Yes.
they've stepped it up against the best in the league or best in baseball.
Yeah. All right. So I heard it from you that they're going to sweep the Dodgers right now.
Well,
It's
it's
happening.
funny when the preseason picks and predictions that we did, the whole staff picks. My bold prediction was that they'd sweep the Dodgers in the June series that's coming up. So I'll take it
This is
a
it.
series early. Let's just do it now instead of later.
Okay, you meant the 4-game series
Yeah,
in
at
June
Coors
at
Field.
all, not
I
the May-June series
Yeah,
split.
I
Okay.
selfishly picked the one in mid-June because I knew I'd be here.
Knew that was gonna happen and get those
Yeah,
dubs there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. And so so we were watching Ryan McMahon versus Alec Boehm kind of as the Phillies all-star versus the Rockies all-star potential third base piece. I think we need to watch Yelly De La Cruz and Ezekiel Tofar in the shortstop matchup, so to speak. Because like Ellie, like Tovar has I'm gonna look up Ellie's De La Cruz stats. I believe Tovar's OPS is higher than Ellie's.
There's someone on Twitter that tracks it like daily, and I think it's awesome that they do that.
So Ellie's at 789. And
Tovar's
Tovar is at 784.
close.
Very close. Tovar also has 20 more at bats. It's like 4 more games there. Okay.
And I think it's funny that they're both so young and like they're bright. And Ellie gets all the media coverage compared to Tovar, and like sure,
Yeah.
like all right, because Ellie he steals all the bases and he hits for power a lot, but he also strikes out a ton. I think Mike was talking about this on his account. Like Tovar is awesome for Coors Field because he's a contact guy that's going to get the ball in play, and he plays amazing defense. And Ellie's a little bit prone to error, so they're both amazing in their own ways, and it makes them different.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like Ellie does have 31 steals, but they also have the same amount of strikeouts.
Yeah,
which is still high for each one. 74 strikeouts each. With again, Tovar has 24 at bats.
so that actually is a point Tovar then.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Less strikeouts percentage. OPS is near the same. They have about the same RBIs, but Ellie has a few more home runs and some of the bigger counting stats. So, just something to watch for. Like we watched, I was kind of watching a little bit closer with the Alec Boehm and Brian McMahon in the Phillies organization series there. Anything else you want to kind of touch on before we Austin Gobber Statcast?
I don't think so. I just want the Rockies to keep this train rolling. That's it.
I mean, if only they could take you, like sneak you on the plane to LA.
That's what I'm saying.
If only we had enough funding to send you to LA, that would be dope. All right, so Statcast, Austin Gomber Statcast is going to be brought to you by Daily Controls LLC. Anything and all of your automation needs can be done by Mr. Daly. He sponsored my trip to St. Louis. He's going to be going there with me. Just anything your button doesn't button, your machine doesn't machine, anything you need automated related, he will travel out to you if you need it. So dailycontrolsllc.com, or go ahead and send him an email at info@dailycontrolsllc.com. So Austin Gomber has been great. Like, I think we can officially say we won the trade, right?
He's been special. Yeah, let's just throw it out there. You're gonna get to watch it. Imagine you go to a Gomber versus Nolan game.
Would that line up? Where are we at? Let's see. Because
Yeah, if
it's
he pitches
Gomber. So Gomber 1, 2, 3, 4. So he'll pitch in Cincinnati.
No, he pitches Sunday against the
He's pitching
Dodgers,
Sunday.
which he'll be the Friday game or the Saturday game against St. Louis.
I am gonna get a Gomber. I'm gonna get a Gomber game.
That'd be sweet. That's a storyline right there. There you
There
go.
we go. Now, if I just get a quote for Nolan, that'd be sweet. not our Nolan, the old Nolan, but that'd be kind of fun. So Austin Gomber, but like, why has he been so good? His fastball is actually lower than league average. It's sitting at about 90 miles an hour. His changeup is at 81, his curveball is 76, and his slider is at 83. All of these are way below league average, like nowhere close on the speed there. So he's being efficient with everything. His whiff rate, blue, 25% whiff rate. K rate, 20, blue, low. His walk rate, 63 percentile, so not terrible, at 63 percentile. Just said it. But he's not allowed a lot of barrels. And his hard hit percentage is about league average at 50%. What's really doing it for him is the ground ball percentage is at 62%. And then he's getting a little bit more extension, which is something Tyler's just been talking about all summer so far, all fall. It's about extension down. Like, he's in the 72nd percentile of extension. I'm not sure where that lands in the past, but it seems like an adjustment there as compared to the last few years. His ground ball rate, in, let's just take a random time, 45% right now, ground ball percentage. Last year was 42%. In 2022 was 43. In 2021, when he was efficient, it was around 45%. So he's getting a lot more ground balls, thanks to that curveball, right? And then he's just not allowing a lot of good hard contact. As you can see, I wasn't as prepared as I normally am with this. Where else can we go with this?
I'm interested. This year, it feels like the difference has been he's gotten a ton of double plays, but I think he normally does because he pitches on the ground. The curveball has been so effective, and he has to pitch. You talked about it. He's not going to overpower guys. His velocity is not the top of the spectrum, right? So he's got to pitch. He's got to get guys out, and that just means that you can't miss location as much. But I'm curious his home runs, because it feels like last year he gave up many more than this year, and so I don't know if that's
So we can look at that. So this year so far he's given up 5 home runs off the fastball. Last year in a full season he gave up 15 off the fastball. Quick math, we're looking at about 25 home runs total last year. He's given up 9 already. So I mean, that's not tracking well. His fly ball percentage now is 24%, but in 22 and 23, it was about 27%, 28%. So he's dropped his fly ball rate down a little bit. But surprisingly, like you said, his curveball has been great. That has actually a -2 run value according to StatCast. So now this is where it is. And this might be something where we have to look into it. His fastball so far this year has a 0 run value, which is good. Because when you compare it to his last year's numbers, it was -19 run value on that fastball.
Holy cow.
And I'm trying to look quickly. Doesn't seem to be a big difference. A little bit more movement. So
does he throw it more often, maybe?
What's percentage? Does it tell me? So this year he's throwing at 40%. Last year he threw at 44%.
Gee, okay.
He's actually throwing so maybe this is it. His slider usage this year is at 17%. Last year was at 20%. His changeup usage has gone up, which has been his best pitch this year with a 7 run value overall. Last year, that's where it is. That's where he's making his adjustment. His changeup, 18% used last year. It is being used 24% this year.
I think that's totally a result of what the Rockies as a organization have seen from the effectiveness of Cal Quantrill splitter. I mean,
Yeah,
so honest, I really do think that what they have found with Quantrill and the splitter might be something that changes how they draft in the future because of how effective it's been. What up, Big Mike in
what
the
up,
chat?
Mike? Knew you'd be in the YouTube chat somewhere. Yeah, you might be onto something there. Like getting that really no longer that that sinker piece.
If you don't throw a splitter, then the closest thing to that is a changeup, and so Quantrill and Gomber have been super successful. We've talked about it. That there might be something there. I'll do what I can to ask him about that.
Yeah, whatever question that might be. So like his inches of drop on his changeup this year is at 31.1. Last year on his changeup it was 30. So he added an extra inch of drop on his changeup, and it's a mile per hour slower.
I
So
was going to say that probably coincides with.
he's made some adjustments with that, and he's throw it more often. So, all right, Gomer's changeup is nasty. So like I always get infatuated with his big sweeping, very Zito-esque curveball that just takes me back to my childhood. But his changeup is the pitch that has allowed him to be so efficient, which might be a Cal Quantrill thing. So that probably means that the Rockies are going to extend Cal Quantrill to a 8-year extension before the end of the season. Okay, so I think I just learned something right there, even though I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. So I apologize for rambling through that, but I think we got to it.
Yeah, I just that stuff like that is so interesting because I coming into the segment, I really thought it was the curveball that was making the difference, but it makes sense that it's a changeup, and I really do think Quantrill didn't even throw the splitter last year. He threw it barely. It's a pitch he learned in the offseason, and it's just going to continue to get better. And so I don't know. The feeling that I have is truly that it might be something that changes how the Rockies draft and develop as an organization. But
that's going to be wild.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe next time we look at Cal Quantrill stuff.
Yeah.
Looking at it real quick. His curveball has 45 inches of drop. Jesus.
Anyway. Yeah.
It's insane.
Good luck hitting that.
Yeah, here's 4 feet of change real quick. Eye leveled, knees. Here we go. Buckled. All right. All right. Are you doing anything? Are you doing any kind of covers for the away games? What are you thinking?
I was going to
put you on the spot live.
But. Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that. I'll probably watch if I am able to watch the game on that night or day, then probably I'd like to do a game story. I love live tweeting. Live tweeting is really fun. And so
there we go.
Do that, at least. So
keep an eye out on the Blake Street Banter Twitter for the just game recaps, just game tweets from our boy Noah there. All right. So you still be found even though you aren't on the beat there. Mm-hmm. And we'll go from there. Dodgers are going to sweep, probably get swept by the Reds. And no, we're going to sweep the Dodgers. Get swept by the Reds and let's just go have a good time.
Backwards.
Yeah, right? Everything's inverted, right?
Yeah.
Just like the thumbnail there. That was a fun, wide little tweet there. So always having fun. All right. Thank you for hanging out. If you were listening, thank you for kind of putting up with us and getting through it. And go Rocks. Woo! Thank you for watching and listening. Please check out our link tree for more content.